I took my littlest one down to the bathroom. The other 4 stayed at the campground with the other, or the campsite rather, I should say, with the other 4 adults. So I took Evelyn down, washed her up. And the kids, I saw the kids that they were getting ready to go on the bikes. My rule is to edit, like, you need to have a partner. And it's not because, like, my mind always went to, like, what if something happens? What if somebody takes you? But it's more so, like, if you fall, you get hurt. Like, and they didn't have phones at the time. So it was like, we need to have somebody that can come back and say, like, you need to go here. Somebody fell, chain fell off, whatever, you know. So our rule is 2 at a time. So, you know, as they're leaving, it's like, just wear your helmet 2 at a time, you know. And I go down with Evelyn. I wash her up and I get her back up to the campsite and I count our kids, like, to make sure they're all there. So I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, you know, they pick on me because I will sometimes do it out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. But it's like, I just need to do that so I know, like, everybody's accounted for. And, like, immediately I come back and I said, where's Charlotte? Because I counted the kids, like, the second I got back, and I said, where's Charlotte? At first they were like, oh, she's on the teeter-totter. And I said, no, she's not. And then somebody else spoke up and said, I think she took her bike around one more time. So then I was very mad. And I said, every one of you know the rule. And you still let her go on her bike by herself. So I was not only mad that Charlotte took her bike by herself, but I was mad at everybody else that let her take her bike when they know the rule is 1 or 2, rather, excuse me, that they go 2 at a time. So I grumbled a few things under my breath and took Evelyn into the tent to change her clothes and whatnot. And we were probably in there for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. I can't really tell you, but picture an alligator in your tent trying to put clothes on them. She was, you know, she's 4, young 4, you know, right. So I'm trying to change her clothes. We get out. It was immediate. I knew something was going on because my husband wasn't at the site. And one of our friends was no longer at the site. And the kids were just like, it was like no noise on the campsite. It's like the only way I can describe it. It was just like so quiet. And I was like, where's Charlotte? One of the people we were with said, sorry. We found her bike, but we don't know where Charlotte is. And I was like so mad. I put Evelyn down in the chair and I was like, do you think you could watch her? And I said it like so snotty, which this person is like one of the most lovely people ever. Like, but it wasn't like at her. I was so like,
yeah. Panicked
that I was like mad, like not aggressive, but like I like snapped at her for no reason because it was nobody's fault. And then I honestly, I can't remember if it were Dave or one of our friends that went by me, and I just completely panicked and called 911 like immediately. And then I was talking to the police. I don't know how to like articulate it. It's like your brain is literally on fire. I'm trying to talk to the police and I'm screaming for Charlotte, which I know is not the right thing to do now. But like you're so panicked, like the police are trying to talk to me and I'm just like not answering them and I'm screaming Charlotte's name. Like she's going to just appear if I keep screaming her name. And then like people around us were, because it was like 6:30 at night. So they were making dinner, eating dinner, cleaning up dinner. Literally everybody just stopped what they were doing. And then everybody is now screaming Charlotte's name and they're walking in the woods. And I still have the police on the phone.
So you're on the phone with the police?
I'm on the phone with the police.
And how many people do you think left their respective campsites and joined?
So like if you're looking at it like say in a U, like we were kind of at the edge of the U. So everybody to like the left of us, across from us, and around the corner and down like where they found her bike. But it just was a snowball effect because, you know, in your site, like they start saying her name and then it just was like, who are you looking for? So then people just like started stopping and it just kind of was like our entire loop were like calling her name and, you know, which was so overwhelming to hear like a symphony of your daughter's name, like just everybody at one time, like screaming her name. It was awful. Mm-hmm. It was just really awful. And then the cops got there, I would say fairly quickly. But to be honest with you, something mentally just happens to you in this case where it's like you're just thinking on loop, like, where's Charlotte? Where's Charlotte? I need Charlotte. I need Charlotte. And it's like, you can't take anything in. So it's like, I don't know what time they got there. I feel like it was very fast that they got there. And then it just was like a really tough 47 hours from there. Take me through what was going on. What were you feeling, hopeless or hopeful? So at first, I kept saying to myself and saying to the cops, Charlotte loves little critters. Maybe she saw something and went into the woods. Because that's what you want to think. Like, you don't want to think somebody took my child. Because when you think that, you think she's on a plane, I'm never going to see her again. So it's like you have to keep yourself from going too far to the dark side, because you can't come out. Because I did eventually get there where it was like, I know she's not in the park, and I know somebody took her. And so, but in the beginning, it was like holding on to try to find like an innocent answer, almost like I said, like maybe she saw a snake and she hopped off her bike and went into the woods and just got turned around. And it's not that bad. Like, we're going to get her. She just took a wrong turn. And, now looking back, it's very naive, but I think it's like a safety mechanism. Like, it's what your brain does to keep you from totally just cracking, is like you're trying to find an innocent answer or explanation for what's going on. And that whole night, I like really held on to that. Maybe she just took a wrong turn and she's scared in the woods, to the point of like, I was like sitting in the woods in the dark, like just trying to listen, like, I don't know. You become so like, it's almost like irrational. Like, now looking back, it's like, of course she wasn't 20 feet from me in the wood, but you're hanging on to anything that will ease it a little bit. Like, if I'm just quiet enough, I'll hear her like calling for me or something.
Where did you all stay that night? And where were you, Jené?
I was home. My husband was coaching a football game for one of our sons, and we both got home. He was getting ready to go back to work because he's a fireman. He works 24 hours, so he had taken some time off. He had to go to work. He got into a little altercation with one of the other coaches in the parking lot, and I was like waiting to hear about this jerk. So I'm downstairs doing something with our other son, our little guy, and he calls me. He's like, come upstairs right now, get my mother on the phone. And we couldn't get my mother-in-law on the phone. I have no idea why, but she like wasn't answering her phone. So I go, I'll be up. I'm like, he just wants to tell me the story about this jerk in the parking lot. Right. I'll be there in a minute, whatever. And I finish what I'm doing. And I come up and he's like putting like Carhartt stuff on and whatever. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, Trisha just called me. She's hysterical. Charlotte is missing. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I'm like, well, she wandered off in the woods. Like, she got lost. They're in like, I knew they were camping. We had celebrated my birthday the night before and gone out with some friends. We don't really camp with them because that's not our thing. So we would never, whatever. But so we were just home and had stuff going on. And I go, well, I'm sure they'll find her. But I have to say, I had a really terrible feeling. And like what Trisha was saying, like, you never think that your kid is going to get kidnapped because a stranger abduction is like so rare. It's like a teeny tiny percentage of all abductions. Most of them are custodial, like another parent. So like your mind wouldn't go there. But I just knew, I like had a very bad feeling, and I was like, okay. And my husband was like, I'm going there. Get me all the flashlights, get me the lantern. He called his fire department. These guys left work to go. I mean, so they were all heading up there. So Schenectady Fire Department ended up being actually one of the official agencies put on it because they sent a rig, like they did all this stuff. Yeah. So he went, and I'm like home with the kids, whatever kids we had there. because we're a blended family. So it might have been 2 or 3 of them. I don't know. So once they went to bed, I'm like waiting to hear from him. But in my mind, I'm still doing the same thing Trisha is. She just got lost in the woods. Right. They're going to find her. Pat is keeping in touch with me, telling me that they're searching the woods. There's now my brother-in-law went up. There's now like people joining this search. The state police responded very quickly. They had the forest rangers because it was a state park. They already were making plans for dogs to come in to where her bike was. And we're like trying to piece it together, and I'm at home and I'm sitting there like can't sleep, of course, because I'm like a nervous wreck. And I'm like, I can't sit here and do nothing. Like I can't, I'm like, we have to do something. So I have to click on Facebook, and a friend had forwarded a bulletin from the state police. It wasn't an Amber Alert yet, but it was a bulletin with her picture saying, I forget what they call it, but like missing alert or something, which is like a precursor for an Amber Alert. So a friend shared that, and I write to the friend and I go, this is my niece. And like my husband's there right now. Like, she's like, oh my God, I just saw this on the state police page. So I share it. And of course, like I work in media. So I have tons of friends that are producers for media outlets and newspapers and everything. So I share this and I say, this is our niece, like anybody who's in the area. I go on the Ring camera app and I'm like, I'm doing my like investigative reporting thing. I'm like, everybody has a Ring camera. If somebody, so now I'm starting to not think that she got taken, but I'm starting to like lead myself there because I'm like, they're covered. They're searching in the park. If she's in the park, they'll find her. Let me see what I can do outside of the park if she did get in a car with someone. And Pat had called me at one point and told me her bike was found standing like on its kickstand and her helmet wasn't there. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, sounds like she got in a car. So let me see if neighboring houses have Ring cameras. So I go on the Ring camera app, and now everybody's like sharing it on the Ring camera app and responding to my message. At the same time, it's going on social media. And I decided to go on TikTok and make a TikTok video. And because now I had all these people contacting me on social media. And so I go on TikTok and I'm like, this is what I know so far. Right. Anyone out there, blah, blah, blah. So that ends up going like completely viral, this video. So now by the next morning, it's like my phone starts blowing up. I'm like trying to drive to the campground and I'm like running off the road because I have like CNN calling and NBC News and all this stuff. And like they keep calling and hanging up. Everybody pretty much had my number because of the fact that I work for some of these TV outlets. They got my number very easily. So I'm like, okay, I'm, I guess, like unofficial, media spokesperson at this point. So I get to the campsite that morning and everything's locked down because the governor was arriving and she was going to do a press conference because it's a state park. So I'm like just trying to figure out what can I do. But my main purpose was I know how the media can be. And now this is a cute little girl. It's a weekend. Everybody's like watching this, invested in the fact that now it's been a like night has gone by and she's still missing. So now it's like really picking up steam. So then my purpose became shielding them from the media outlets because they were starting to get Trisha's number somehow. And like local papers were calling her and she picked up and talked to one of them. And then she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, don't talk to anybody else. Give them my phone number. If you pick up the phone, if anybody texts you, whatever, refer them to me.